was telling you guys here just a couple of weeks ago about the importance of knowing your history. And we have had, since then, another discovery of approximately 750 bodies at a former residential school site in Saskatchewan. People are upset about this. They're genuinely upset about this, and I don't blame them. The crappy part is, and I don't like to start my week by delivering a bunch of bad news to people, but we have hundreds more of these sites to examine, and we're probably going to find graves at a lot of them. And this is something that we just, as a country, we need to do a difficult thing. We need to, on the one hand, not harden our hearts, because we don't want that to happen. We never want to become inured to this kind of terrible news. But we also need to be emotionally prepared for the fact that we are going to keep discovering these sites for however long the effort takes. And even when we have finished discovering the sites and we've counted the last body, we know there are more that we are never going to find, or more that were incinerated or simply disposed of in unmarked areas, and we're never ever going to know. We'll never have a final count. Eventually we'll stop counting the bodies we can find, but that's not the same thing as having a final count. This is going to be a process that takes years, and I don't honestly know where it's going to go. I make no predictions about this. I always hope for the best. We should all hope for the best, but do I expect huge progress on this? To an extent, yeah. I think we'll do better than we are today. Will we do a lot better? I don't know. I think when we talk about reconciliation, we often talk about it in the sense of, clean up the water, which we should do. We talk about the truth part. We should go to these sites. We should find the graves. Yeah. Are Canadians really going to be willing to stick with this if it actually in any way imposes a cost or change on their own life? We'll see. I have my doubts. But what I actually wanted to talk to you today was something related to all of this. There's now been 4, at the time when I filmed this video, it might be more by the time you see them, but there's been 4 incidents of Catholic churches in BC being targeted for vandalism or destruction. And I think it's important we draw a distinction between the two. I'm not encouraging anyone to go out and graffiti a church, but I think what's happening in BC we need to understand is different than that. This is destruction. This is arson, apparently. Police are investigating, but 4 churches going up in a blaze. I think we have to wait for the official investigation, folks, but I think we can also, make some conclusions here. The only point I want to make is that this is going to be something that a lot of Canadians struggle with. There's a lot of anger at the Catholic Church in particular, which ran most of the residential school sites. Not all of them, but it ran most of them. And the Catholic Church is reluctant in some ways to cooperate on some of these matters. All right, fair enough. Hey, look, I'm not Catholic. I have no particular skin in this game. The Catholic Church is a huge institution that is complex, big, fascinating, and has a lot to answer for. Will it ever answer for any of it? I don't know. I just honestly don't. I'm not saying this to insult any Catholic's faith. I'm making a comment about the institution here. It's got a big, complicated history. It's fascinating, but it's got a lot of dark chapters to it. The only point I want to make is targeting religious sites is wrong. Burning houses of worship is wrong. What starts with buildings doesn't often stay at buildings. As upsetting as all the recent revelations have been, and I know for many of you who did not know this history, it has been very upsetting, don't swing so far in the opposite direction that you lose the ability to say that burning down churches is bad. We're in a country that already has some issues with the targeting of religious and racial minorities for violence, discrimination, and harassment. We're not going to make it a better country by adding to the list of religions that are being targeted for, in this case, property destruction, but potentially from their violence. If we have any hope of building a better future, it is building a better future for everyone, even when tensions are hot, even, frankly, especially when tensions and temperatures are hot. That is not the moment to go in for this sort of thing. Whoever's doing this, I have no problem at all believing is an individual acting on their own behalf. I'm not drawing any conclusions. I'm not blaming any of us collectively for this. Whoever's doing this, whether one person or a small group of them, they're criminals and they should be dealt with accordingly. But I have seen a reluctance to call this what it is. I've even seen some people perhaps leaning too far in that opposite direction and perhaps even condoning what this is. So let's make a clear statement here. Targeting houses of worship is always wrong. Targeting people for their religious affiliation is always wrong. Targeted harassment on the basis of religious affiliation is always wrong. A lot of what happened to Indigenous peoples in this country was horrifically wrong. We're not going to do better by anyone by adding to the list of problems we have in this country. And if you can't say that, if you struggle to say that, that's more of a reflection on you than it is the issue.